Joining us now is a strategy consultant and public affairs analyst, Dipo Oyewole. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast. When you look at all of these conditions, do you think this is really in the interest of Nigeria?
Yes, they are in the interest of Nigeria. However, being able to ensure that these things are done is something that I believe it's beyond our purview. Because these things they're not happening within our borders. So if Ghana, for example, they import a good from China and then they tell you it's a wholly made Ghanaian product, do we need to send an envoy over there to ask where it was manufactured? Is that how we're going to do it? It's not sustainable. However, there are salient points because it is unacceptable that you import goods from outside the ECOWAS states and then repackage them as if they are products from that side of the continent. So yes, it's a step in the right direction. However, enforcement is not something I see that we can sustainably do. Why? Because, like I said, we don't have control over what happens in other. Okay. They're sovereign nations. Okay.
But they are going to be coming into the country. We have control of what comes in.
Exactly. Yeah. So that is where we should tighten our belts, which is what I've said here earlier, to say that we need to focus a lot more on what we're doing on the side of the border and not what our neighbors are doing. Fine, we need to let our neighbors know that these are the conditions to get anything into our country, but we need to do a lot more from the side of the border.
Okay, in the long term, how do you see this rule continuing? Do you see consistency in all of this?
Well, I see it. Let's see how it goes in the initial stage. Of course, there will be compliance at the initial stage to get the borders reopened. But being sustainable is something that is quite difficult to predict because you need to also understand that on some level, it is a bit cheaper for people to circumvent our borders to do it. Now, am I advocating for that? No, I'm not. But it's just simple economics, which is why people do it. The other day, I saw a tweet where someone said he had a conversation with a clearing and forwarding agent, and to move goods from Apapa port to Obanikoro would cost 750,000 naira. To Lekki would cost 1 million naira within the same state. Wow. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, we had a report on that in TVC News, yeah. But in all of this now, looking at this situation, we have over 1,000 unmanned borders, illegal routes in Nigeria. So how do we, if we can have rules for unmanned borders, what happens to the unmanned borders?
Which is something I would expect this government to be very aggressive about. I mean, that was what I expected the main conversation to be, because now we have the manned borders and we're doing this much with the land borders. It's fine, okay, it's admirable. But what's happening with the unmanned borders? Are we getting the relevant agencies more bodies to man those borders? Are we giving them more funding? Are we giving them more training? Are we using technology, CCTV cameras? Are we doing that? Which are part of the things I'm saying that we need to do on this side of the border. Because, like I said, it is beyond our control what happens outside our borders. We can only say that these are the conditions that will accept goods from a country, but you need to understand that these are sovereign nations. There's only so much we can do and say to get them to comply to what we want them to do.
Now, how consistent is this with the Africa Free Continental Trade Agreement that encourages, free flow of goods and services?
Well, the conditions are in line with it. Okay, to be fair, the conditions are in line with it because the conditions are about goods manufactured or produced within this region. Okay, so it is in line with it. However, the border closure is something that a lot of people are divided over if it's in line with that or not. But the conditions are very much in line with it, and I believe they're cardinal parts of ensuring that that agreement is fully enforced.
Now, another one of the conditions was the destruction of warehouses.
Yes.
I wonder how this comes to you in terms of destroying warehouses, because goods in those warehouses might also be destroyed. Does it really check anything, really?
I don't believe it checks anything because you need to understand that the reason why, ideally, okay, so we're trying to get some goods into Nigeria, and for some reason there is some delay, and then I own a warehouse where I'm offering a service where I say, okay, you know what, you can't get your goods into the country, come store them in my warehouse for a fee over a 24-hour period, over a 72-hour period, because it's closer to the border. So that makes sense. It's good business. So you're saying that you want to destroy all those warehouses. I don't I don't quite agree with that part of it, except they're saying that maybe they're using those warehouses to hoard goods, okay, which is something that we may also need to get checked on the other side of the border. But saying that we want to destroy those warehouses, it's really not that feasible.
All right. Dikbo Oyewole, thank you for your time on TVC Break. Well, joining us now is a strategy consultant and public affairs analyst, Dikbo Oyewole. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast. Now, what do you think would make all of these recommendations or rules laid down by Nigeria effective for both countries that will be beneficial as well? Because some are saying that there might be implications to all of these rules being given by Nigeria for its borders to be opened. Okay, well,
I understand that from the conditions that have been stated, to be fair, they're very reasonable, okay? Because I think it's unfair that you have goods coming from another country, go into another West African country, and then to be routed down here when we have our own ports and we have our own seaports and airports. Okay, so I believe that's one thing the government is trying to tackle. However, that being said, I believe that we also need to work on things back at home. We know the hassle we go through even to get to Apapa and getting our goods out of Apapa ports. Okay, there was something I read on a few days ago about transporting goods from Apapa port to Obanikoro to cost 750,000 naira.
I mean, that distance.
That distance. I mean, Apapa is in Lagos. Apapa is not in Ghana. Apapa is not in Benin Republic. It's not in Niger.
Bringing goods from China.
From within.
So bringing goods from China to Lagos is cheaper than
and from Apapa to Lekki is 1 million naira. That's over $3,000. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Really?
It is really ridiculous. So those are the factors in place that aid these unscrupulous behaviors of smuggling and all of that. But I believe that if we look at things from the inside, deal with what's
now that will be in the long term, don't you think? Because right now we have to look at the short term. We are looking at January to open the borders, and if we have to, what can we do quickly to check all of this, or to make it as effective as you?
Let's get the other unmanned borders manned. Let's make use of.
Do we have the capacity?
Personnel, capacity, technology.
Okay, so this is what I would have expected from the government. Initially, the borders were open, right? Then they were partially closed. Then they're totally closed. So the question is, what were the factors that were at play when they were fully opened? You were able to cite these challenges. Now they were partially closed. Did you see any difference with that partial closure? And what were the challenges you identified? Now it's been fully closed. What are the other challenges you're still facing? I would expect that at every phase of this closure and opening and partial closing and full closure, for them to have these identifiers, unique identifiers to say that, okay, no, at every given point, these are the challenges and this is how we're going to deal with them. Do we have enough personnel? No, we do not. We will recruit. We will train them. We will equip them with relevant technology. Are we doing that? Because I would have expected that to be at the back burner after closing the borders.
In as much as we have these challenges and the government might be trying to solve them, we still have the problems, like you mentioned earlier, inner problems with the ports.
Yes.
In as much as people want to bring goods from the ports, we have operations in the ports that makes it very expensive within the ports
and inefficient.
to clear your gun, inefficient to clear the good. By the time your goods stay in the ports for a month or two,
you have to pay for demurrage
and all of that. How do we ensure that these backlogs or these log jams are closed, so that once your goods land at the port, you can clear easily?
Well, it's still part of the internal processes I was talking about, that we need to find a way to treat it holistically. Because so far what I've seen is we've closed the borders and then we've looked the other way. It doesn't work that way.
If that brings to mind the question that if we are not dealing with these issues internally and we are looking at this, how genuine is our strategy to
We will be back to square one, which was my initial challenge with the whole total closure. Why I said, why can't we have a partial closure, have it better manned, and then we take a look at these factors to say that, okay, now it's partially closed. These are the challenges. We need more bodies. We need technology. We need this, we need that. We can address the internal challenges we have at our seaports, at our airports. But we're not doing that. And then we went ahead to do total closure and still not doing all of that. So what would you expect to happen when the borders are reopened?
We're back to the fact.
So that's the main fear, saying that we're going to be back to square one, and all of this will have been for nothing, because this has affected legitimate businesses and other activities.
Dikpo Oyewole, thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you.
Well, joining us now is a strategy consultant and public affairs analyst, Dikpo Oyewole. Thank you very much, Dikpo, for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Looking at all of this border issues now, Nigeria wants to do well, but other African countries depend on us now. How do we ensure that there's a mutual beneficial relationship such that every country within Nigeria's border seek the gains of this border closure and try to develop them such that we bring ourselves together on the table? We know how to develop ourselves as continents and as individuals such that we do well.
Okay, first, I know I've always been saying that we need to look inwards to solve these challenges. But really, realistically, our neighbors also need to be good neighbors, okay? They have to be responsible neighbors. Now, if we have an agreement that certain things should be done in a certain way, it's expected that you honor it, okay? That being said, by pride of place that Nigeria holds on the continent, either geographically, by population, by whatever metric you want to use, we have a pride of place on the continent. I believe that if we get things right internally, certain things on the external will sort themselves out, because in the end, a lot of it has to do with perception. When it shows that we're getting our act right here, a lot of people will then sit up and know that we mean business, and you need to act accordingly. So still, even though I'm advocating that our neighbors be better and responsible neighbors, I would also say that we need to act in a certain way that sends the right message, that yes, we are ready to do business and we're serious about making progress.
Now, one of the reasons for these conditions outlined is to, check dumping.
Yes.
And we know that it's not just from across our neighbors that we get goods that one could categorize as goods that are being dumped in Nigeria. If we really want to check issues of dumping, beyond all of this, how can we build, or how can we ensure that Nigeria is a place that goods are not dumped? Because there are other routes, like we have agreed, and even through our seaports, some goods still coming that are even expired. Yes.
So that's where we need to grow our internal capacity. Now, what I would have expected is the border closure would have been able to spur us to grow a lot of things locally. Now, I'm not just talking agriculture. When I say grow, I mean industry, manufacturing, production. So if we are able to grow local alternatives sustainably, either you buy what hasn't expired or they want to dump it, there will be no need for that because the dependence on it will be low, okay? Which is something I believe the government is trying to do. However, the approach is, may need some adjustment to it.
Because the issues we have heard over time is issues of enabling environment.
The enabling environment.
For businesses to thrive, it's not really there.
It's not there. So they need to build the infrastructure. We need power. Power is something that once we get it sorted out in Nigeria, certain things just fall into place.
So invariably, local businesses cannot even take advantage of this border closure to build businesses?
Not fully. Some of them can. Okay. Some industries can. In agriculture, they can. And even agriculture, the truth is they will say they're doing well. Truthfully, they are doing well. But they can do a lot better because the roads are bad. Okay, so getting your goods into the urban centers isn't as easy as it should be. You're spending a lot more time on the road. You have items that are rotten in transit. Some of them they're not fresh. So you have perished goods that come into the marketplace. You get to lose money. So they're not really getting the full gains of it, but we're making progress. But still the government needs to do a lot more with regards to providing structure.
All right, thank you so much, Dikpo Oyewole, for your time on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you.